travel changes you. And it doesn't have to be on a grand scale. It doesn't have to be that backpacking trip to Europe for a month. Just going out and taking a day trip. There's just so much it does as far as broadening our eyes into the fact that there's real humans that live in different places and they're kind and they make great food.
Today's guest, Chet Garner. Chet Garner is the host of this show called The Daytripper, which is this Emmy-Award winning travel show. How do we watch stuff that opens up our minds and then we go do that stuff in real life? So we have taken so many trips because of Chet's videos. Well, the Stoics have this idea that we never step in the same river twice. They say in traveling, like, you can't go home again because you're not the same person and the place you're coming home to is not the same.
It just takes that stepping outside of your fishbowl and experiencing people in their fishbowl and realizing like, oh my gosh, we have a lot more in common than what we don't.
There's something too, I think, about going somewhere and going like, oh, they live in their own world here and are dealing with their own shit here.
If people watch my show and then they just stay on the couch and flip the channel, I kind of failed. I want to make a show that inspires people to get off, get in their car, and go have real life interactions. I don't know if you watch The Daytripper or someone on your team watches The Daytripper or something. Okay, cool.
I've watched hundreds of episodes of The Daytripper.
Shut up.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. I know that you have been in this building before. That's how much Daytripper I've watched.
When we walked in, I thought this was still John's hair design.
I know.
And I was like, oh my gosh, wait, no, it's a secret podcast studio, which maybe I shouldn't say that on the mic.
No, you can say it. No, we've watched many episodes of The Daytripper because I've lived here a long time. And then it wasn't until recently we were like, has he ever been to Bastrop? And we looked and we're watching this episode and you come in and then you walk into John's barbershop. And I was like, how did we not know this? This is crazy. You got like a shave. It probably in this, I don't know. It might have been on the other side of this wall. I don't remember exactly. Did you do it in the barber?
I've got the photos so we can match them up exactly to where I was. And we did that whole, like, we tend to jump on pop culture references a little too quickly, but like I was getting a stray razor shave. It was about the time like Sweeney Todd was real big, and we told John that like he was going to serve me meat pies as a Sweeney Todd reference, and he was like, "What is that?" I was like, "It's the only musical movie about a barber, and you're a barber and you haven't watched it." He was like, "Oh, whatever."
Well,
like,
so related to that, we sometimes have a hot dog vendor down the street, and I took him a copy of A Confederacy of Dunces one time. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
And I was really excited and he was kind of like, eh. And then I realized this might be insulting. Like it was the only book I knew about a hot dog vendor. And then I was like, oh wait, the guy's like a clown in the book. Like he's not a good.
Yeah. Some references don't land.
So
like
maybe the barber's just offended by the Sweeney Todd reference.
We had like, I think it might have even been that first. It was the Bastrop episode. We made a Sweeney Todd reference. Then we made a There Will Be Blood reference with a I Drink Your Milkshake. And then it's like all of these. My kids have no idea what these things are. They haven't aged well.
Well, and it was weird that he didn't tell you because when I bought this place, they told me this was at the time the oldest continually operating barbershop in tech. Like this building had always been a barbershop.
Really?
So he was like, he had a picture of like it being a barbershop in the 1800s.
Oh, that's cool.
And then I remember, so two funny things when we got the place is that when we bought it, we promised the people we were buying from, I think that's why they sold it to us, that we would let John stay and keep doing it as long as we wanted.
Yeah.
And so I came in and I was like, hey, John, we're chatting a bit. I go, so have you been here a long time? He's like, yeah, I did all these renovations myself. And I go, oh, really? When was that? And he was saying it like, I just got a deal because he was throwing in these things
for you. And
and he was like, oh, when I got back from the war, like 69. And I go, I don't know if you can call them renovations 50 years after they were done.
Hey, it's all relative, man. It's all relative.
So he'd been here a long time. And before we bought it, he'd cut my hair a couple of times. When I was in town, I'd sometimes have him cut my hair. And he did an okay job, I guess. And then one day I'm walking by and I see him reading, because he was done in a long time. He was reading a magazine with a magnifying glass, like at the front. And I was like, I called my wife. I was like, I don't think I'm going to get my hair cut anymore. And I'm not sure how much longer John's going to
be able to do this.
Because he said, like, I think I got a couple more years. I just want to do it. And then when I'm done, you can do whatever you want with it. And it was not long after.
Oh, man. Well, I remember this is, so I was going to get a shave at an old fashioned barbershop on the Bastrop episode. And so I had to like let my scruff grow out so that I could do it. And I had to plan, you film stuff out of order. Like, okay, what am I going to have post shave, before shave, and how it all works. And John gave me goes down the worst shave I've ever had in my life, because he was nervous. The cameras were on. Sure. I mean, he's a small town barber. His hand, and I was like his hand was shaking the whole time. And I remember we just played it up. We were super nice, and I left. I was like, I gotta go. We had to go to Walgreens buy a razor and shaving cream, and I think I shaved in the Maxine's bathroom across the street, because I can't do this. I look like a mangy dog. I was like, but I don't blame him. I mean, he didn't. Of course,
you don't have practice shaving on camera.
Yes, the sweetest guy.
And how many people come in and get straight razor shaves anymore? It's probably he's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like the Diner Lobster sketch on SNL. Like, you want the lobster?
Yes, that lobster. I do. Oh yeah, and he comes up like he's singing a sad song. Like, oh no,
you're not supposed to order that. That's just
don't order the lobster. That's true. There's times where we're out on the road, and I'm like, this is the most interesting thing you've got on your menu, and they're like, yeah, please don't order that. No one wants to. Like, please don't, because no one gets it. Does, but look, it's creative or whatever, and like,
it's like you go to whenever you are at a restaurant and it's got like the 3-ring, like the bound menu,
like the Cheesecake Factory. Yeah,
menu, you're like, this should not be. You can't be doing all these things well. This is too many. This is too many options. I don't need spaghetti
your Mexican
from this
food
Jewish
and Italian food. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. We did go to one place. I was one of the funniest spots. Like it was a taco shop and a fresh bait store for fishing.
Sure.
And a U-Haul vendor rental. There was a fourth business thrown in. I can't remember. I love this place. Yeah.
No, I've seen many, many episodes of. I think the first Daytripper episode I saw was lulling.
Yeah.
Because.
Man, that's early stuff, right?
Yeah. I think I saw it when it was, not before YouTube, but I saw it when it was on TV. That's the first couple times I saw it.
Ancient TV. Yeah. Hey, I feel that way now.
Yeah. Well, now it's this whole media thing, which is cool.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting too. But no, I've seen many, many episodes over the years.
That's awesome.
And like we have young kids, so like all they want to do is be on their screens. All they want to do is watch YouTube.
Yeah, we fight against that too.
And so we kind of found like, hey, if we watch stuff about the real world, then we can, first off, that's better. Just, it's like, if you're watching a documentary, I don't feel as guilty myself. If I'm binge watching something on Netflix, I'm watching a documentary.
Sure.
I'm like, hey, this isn't just raw entertainment.
Yeah.
But we found if we make our kids watch stuff about places in the real world, then they're like, I want to go there.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
So that's kind of how
like, from the beginning of making the show, I was like, man, if people watch my show and then they just stay on the couch and flip the channel, like I kind of failed.
Yes.
I want to make a show that inspires people to get in their car and go have real life interactions.
Totally.
Which seems crazy now.
Well, and it's just, it's like, look, if we're watching some exotic YouTube channel about people backpacking in Europe,
sure,
there's a bunch of logistics that are required, to do
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
This is like, oh, we're watching it on a Saturday morning. Let's go now.
Yeah,
and so it's
totally.
actually been nice. I would encourage people. Obviously, watching their stuff is awesome, but I'm sure there are equivalents wherever they live,
totally.
It's been great because it's like, oh, hey, here's an off the shelf itinerary for. Where do we go a couple weeks ago? Kyle, because we watched a thing about Kyle.
Did you have pie? Did you go get some pie?
We got the pie, and then we shot zombies in the
the rage room place.
They didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
and so they were like, I got to try that thing. So we did that. And it was.
Oh man, it's amazing when you create something that like actually hits and it inspires people to go. So what you're telling me is super encouraging. So thank you.
No, it's been awesome.
Yeah, I'll get notes from places and they're like, oh man, I could tell when they walked in that they were Daytrippers because they were like, looked at the menu, knew exactly what they wanted. And then other people, maybe it gets a little creepy. They're like, oh, Chet set on this wall. Can we have that table so we can sit right there? I'm like, that's so strange. But
well, speaking of New Orleans, have you ever read Walker Percy?
No,
this book called The Moviegoer. It's like one of the famous novels about New Orleans, but he talks about that. He calls it certification. So he's in this movie theater watching this movie. There's a scene in the novel. I don't know if it's real, but he's in this scene in this movie theater watching it, and they drive by the movie theater in the movie that he's in the theater, right? Like it's a movie in New Orleans, and he's like this. It's this rapturous experience. Like anytime your TV life intersects with your real life, suddenly it becomes significant.
Inception. I mean, right? You're going into different levels of it. Yeah.
And I think in a social media digital world, people are really interested in, because they are craving like experiences.
Sure.
They're like, well, I watched that. I want to go see that thing that I watched. I want to go touch that. And so that term has become a thing to refer to, like, you can take a Seinfeld tour in New York City and visit all, what are people chasing? It's not real. I mean, you just did this in your Plano episode.
Sure.
Yes.
We went to the Dallas mansion. Right.
It's like, why would anyone do that? But people are interested in seeing things. Like, they could go to Lyndon Johnson's house. They could go to they could go to all these, but there's something about having seen it so many times that people want to go see the places that were basically not much more than establishing shots in television shows.
100%.
It's not like they filmed the
100%.
show in that house.
Yeah. It was exteriors in the pool.
Yeah.
Right. But like, I'm guilty of it too. Of course. I've got my favorite movies, and like, in the beginning I was obsessing about like, this movie was filmed in this spot. Like, well, there's a gas station barbecue joint right outside of Bastrop where Texas Chainsaw Massacre openings, and then people flock to that. Yeah. I guess it's just a way to interact with, just these things that seem fiction, and then like, oh my gosh, they're real.
But I think what it does is it makes your real life seem more like the glamour. It makes the ordinary not ordinary. Like you could go to any other gas station that serves barbecue.
Sure. Yeah.
But that one has been on TV, so it feels special. Yeah. And then you can take a picture of it and post that. So it becomes extra. So it's like the feedback loop of like, they filmed something here. So I went there in person, and then I filmed something there.
Wow.
And now I don't hate my life so much.
Well, like, I mean, you're kind of getting into the genesis of the show. The Daytripper was a way to glamorize small towns to make travel accessible for people. So, because I got to travel Europe and stuff like that. I was like, these towns are cool, but like, what's mostly cool about it is the fact that there's beautiful pictures of them in the travel guides, and you've been told that you got to see these places before you die. I can take similar beautiful pictures of downtown Bastrop and romanticize it in a way that it makes the ordinary special, so that people get out and come see that,
It's certified. So we use the word. It's certifying it as visitable. It's and life is a lot of marketing is that, right? They're like, this is the best of this, even though that's something you pay for, or like, this was seen on this show. Like if you were at a comedy club, you could just wait 3 seconds to see if you find this person funny or not, but you want to hear that they were featured on X, Y, or Z.
Totally.
Like, it's all about setting the context with which you're about to consume this thing.
100%. 100%. In my world, in the echo chamber I live in, right, one of the biggest things that can possibly happen for a restaurant barbecue joint is to be named on the Texas Monthly Top 50.
Yes.
Because that's the certification that this is, amongst all the barbecue, the hundreds, maybe thousands, this is the ones that are worthy. I mean, the Michelin stars came out. That was a big deal too, right?
Yeah, and the Michelin star guide is propaganda from a tire company. But after a long enough time, it becomes significant.
Sure. Exactly. I mean, I think we're getting into a world now, too, where curation is one of the biggest things that matters. I mean, you do such a good job. Like the bookstore is super curated. You've said of all the ancient philosophers, here's the ones you should read.
Yes.
And you've got the credibility. And so what I do is just that in the small town Texas travel world, it's curating it, taking this giant world of knowledge and then distilling it down and saying, hey, these are worthy of your attention.
Yeah.
It's funny that I got that stamp though. I mean, I wasn't setting out for it, but.
Well, so where our worlds maybe, I was trying to think of a way our worlds kind of intersected. Do you know who Herodotus was?
The name, man.
So he's the first traveler. Yeah. Basically, the guy that invents travel literature is also the guy that invents the concept of history. So around like the 4th, 5th century, just this guy decides to travel. He's there's basically all these wars and things going on. So he's basically exiled, and he's like, I'm going to travel and I'm going to talk about it. And no one had ever done that before.
That's amazing.
And he decides not just to write about what he sees, but to like ask the people about why they do what they do and where they come from. And so he writes this book called The Histories, which is like our story of the 300 Spartans, right?
Okay. Yeah.
That comes from him because he talks a lot about the clash between the East and West because he's traveling around. So this one guy, just this very curious traveler, just decides to head around. He's like the first person to travel for no reason.
Yeah. Because he wasn't thinking, I'm capturing these stories to live as a narrative for the future. You think he was just indulging himself?
I think more directly, he wasn't like, I have to get over here to buy spices, or I have to travel over here because the army is going over. He was like the first person to just wander around and record what I see. And so he's known as the father of history, but he's really also the father of travel journalism in any form.
Oh my gosh, I need to study this guy.
It's fascinating.
I think I know of the tale through the 300 story of the Spartans, and a bunch of the stories we know are all from him. That makes sense. Yes. Oh, see, that's fascinating.
Yeah, and he's just kind of like, well, why do you do this? The Greek word was, I think, nomos. He was like, what are the norms? Like, why do you guys over here do this? Okay. And over here we do this. And obviously this is a time of immense sort of, the whole idea of cosmopolitanism doesn't exist. So it's like over there, they're barbarians, and over here we're civilized. And he kind of is like, well, what? Why? He's interested, actually.
Well, what fascinating thing, like to be curious about another culture. Yeah. I mean, surely maybe that existed. But there are a lot of people I've encountered in life who just aren't that curious about how the world is out there. No. I'm infinitely curious about little towns, little things. You are as well. But there's a lot of people, and in that time, I'm sure it was the pervasive mindset. Like, I don't care what the barbarians are doing. They're barbarians. Surely they don't have anything to offer me.
Well, do you know why they're called barbarian? A barbarian was basically anyone who didn't speak Greek.
Oh, right? Okay. And anyone beyond the wall.
It's basically referring to the Persians because when they talked, it sounded like gibberish. Okay. And the gibberish in Greek sounded like bar. That's barbarian.
Oh, and that's funny.
Just the childlike simplicity that is based on. And then he goes, well, I wonder what they're saying. And so he actually went and he asked. Okay. And we get all these myths and stories. Some of them are obviously preposterous and he's pretty credulous about them, but he's just like the first guy that was like, realizing like, the Egyptians have a history and the Persians have a history and the Ionians have it. He just goes around and he cobbles together these histories.
Oh, that's fascinating. Okay, I got to read some of this stuff. Well, some of the best stuff, I mean, this is kind of on a smaller scale. I've found old travelogue books from like the 1940s traveling Texas or before the 1920s. Like people who just kind of wandered around and made notes of like the times when our town squares weren't like renovated. They were active and alive and there were giant gaps between towns. And of course you couldn't drive very fast. You were in
That's
a Model
why they were
T,
separate towns.
You know? Yeah. So those things are fascinated that's a thread throughout history of people just being curious of, I wonder how they live over there.
Well, and realize that one of the big things that kind of blew my mind was, and maybe some people it's basic or some people it sounds like, like a galaxy brain nonsense, but realizing like they didn't live in the past. They lived in the future. Like they lived in the most, any era was the most advanced era in the history of the world. Yeah.
This is the golden age. Look at all we have. Yeah. Right.
And so it didn't feel like they didn't believe they lived in antiquity. They believe they live in
We are
now.
the here and now.
Yeah.
One of the worst rides at Disney and also one of the best rides was it was like a rotating, was it like the World of Tomorrow or something, where you got Walt Disney in different eras and he's explaining to you why this is the greatest era in time.
Yeah.
You know, and they all look kind of miserable to us, but it helps you understand his perspective. You're absolutely right.
Or like at Disney World, there's like the people mover as a ride, like basically like an escalator as a ride.
Oh yeah.
You know, or like the thing at the airport you stand on, it just takes you around.
Like,
they were like, this is
it. Look, but we're not moving our legs.
50 years later, you're like that. I took one of those in my hotel to get to the park, you know?
That's funny. Yeah. We were looking back at old footage and like, so I've been doing what I do for 15 years. Some of our early episodes were like Bastrop, but also downtown Austin.
Yeah.
South Austin. And it occurred to me like, oh, dang, I'm making a historic documentary.
Yes.
I was like, well, what? When, you know, but like, it's true because in a couple decades, this is capturing an era. It's going to be looking back like Austin in the 60s or something. I'm like,
for some people, what you captured in a particular episode is Austin before it sucked. Right? Like before it became what it is now. It was the perfect time. Although if I watch it or some person who's just moved here watches it, they go, oh, it wasn't good. Like none of the good stuff had happened yet.
Oh yeah.
So there's something kind of funny about watching that where you go, oh, this is all just this. We're trying to take a moment and create it as a fixed thing when in fact it's just kind of always been in flux.
Always moving. I got to Austin in 99 when I came to go to UT. And at that point we were all saying, oh man, Austin sucks now. You should have seen it a couple decades ago, you know, or like maybe less than a decade when Linklater made Slacker, the film just kind of wandering around Austin. But then they were all talking about, you know, the glory days of the Armadillo World headquarters. And so Austin is always, you should have been here yesterday.
But that's literally they're also the myopia. That's, I think, what travel does is everyone says that about every city in the entire world.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone thinks like, you know, Philadelphia was better 200 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, like there's
you like Rome now, man, you should have seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone, because everything is constantly being made and remade and changing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, like what better illustration than our kids, right?
Of course.
My gosh. Constantly having to appreciate, well, this is what I've got now, and not to get too nostalgic about what I had then.
Yes.
Because it was just as hard, and I was nostalgic then about what I had before.
Yes.
And not also getting trapped in the forward looking, well, I can't wait till this happens. That's going to be the best time.
Yeah.
So,
well,
you know.
You had this experience as a parent where you're like, I can't wait till they can watch themselves. Can't wait till they can walk. All this stuff. And then you get to those moments and all you think about is, oh man, remember when we could just put them down? We didn't have to worry about them going anywhere. You know, like,
That's
and
true.
then you're like, where's my 16-year-old? They know it's curfew. You know, like it happens like that.
Dude, that's where we are right now.
Yeah.
We just got a driver. And I thought, and driving is the most terrifying, but also it's the worst and also the best.
Sure.
You know, because you've got him on a snow day, like, okay, you know, like, hey buddy, be careful. Yeah. But then also like he could drive himself to practice.
It's a huge weight off your shoulders.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So we've got a big family too. So but you know, I just constantly trying to live in the present and say these are the good old days.
Yes.
Right.
Well, one of the things I've tried to realize as a parent is what I'm rushing towards is the end. You're not just at some big level, you're rushing towards death. That's what we're doing.
Right.
But you're also just rushing towards a thing you will 100% guarantee miss.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And right. It hit me the other day. I'm not just going to miss this, like, oh yeah, when my kids are old and moved out, I'm going to miss the noise and the mess. But it's like when my wife and I go for a date, the thing we desperately needed, the first thing we're like, I miss the kids. Like you're going to miss it like
right
6 hours
immediately.
From now.
Immediately. I'm not looking forward to the kids moving out. I love it, you know, but also like it's exhausting and there's the schedules are a nightmare, but you know, constantly having to remind myself like there'll be a place for the future. There was a place for the past. I've got to get like, this is where I'm at right now.
Well, the Stoics have this idea that we never step in the same river twice. And I think there's something interesting that like, you know, is they say in traveling, like you can't go home again. Because you're not the same person and the place you're coming home to is not the same.
Not the same. Yeah.
And there's something about, I imagine it for you, you've been going to these places for a decade and a half, your whole life in some cases. And like, you've been in this building before, but it's different. Also, you're different.
Yeah.
Also, the world is different. And so there is this kind of mystical, miraculous thing about how it's always changing and you're always changing and it's never the same.
Yeah. I think travel does that. I mean, it can literally be said travel changes you, and it doesn't have to be on a grand scale.
Yes.
Or it doesn't have to be that backpacking trip to Europe for a month, just going out and taking a day trip to Fredericksburg, wherever, Bastrop here. There's just so much it does as far as broadening our eyes into the fact that there's real humans that live in different places and they're kind and they make great food and, they treat me. If I treat them kind, they treat me kind.
Yeah.
And then also like the different cultures. I mean, when I was in college, you could go to Fredericksburg and like literally hear German spoken on the street.
Yes.
And they're like, these people, like, they're not tourists. They actually legitimately live here. And that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because I was putting so much energy into going to Germany to hear people that talk German when it was just right there. And so there's not enough can be said about how much travel shapes our minds and broadens our worldview.
And then there's something too, I think, about going somewhere and going like, oh, they live in their own world here and are dealing with their own shit here.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like
that's right.
In his book on Australia, Bill Bryson talks about like reading the newspaper in a country you're not from.
Okay.
And you're like, oh, this is weird. Like they have their own scandals, their own like things that they're worried about.
Yeah.
And then also, though, I think one of the benefits / curses of being an American is they're also talking about America from a distance. Because you can't actually I was in Australia for a month this summer and you're just like, on the one hand, it made some of this craziness here seem clearer to me because you're like, oh, this is what a country who's not Democrat or Republican just thinks about the big guy.
Yep.
And then on the other hand, you're like, oh, by not following it day to day, some of this stuff isn't of global significance. It's just stupid or weird
we look really
or whatever.
Petty.
Yes.
Or how's Big Brother doing over there? Because it's going to influence how life is here. And then, but also when they get into the drama and the soap opera of it, you're just like, oh my gosh, we seem so petty.
Like I was in Lockhart this weekend and I picked up like the little Lockhart newspaper. And it was like, these are what the high school kids are doing. And you're like, oh yeah, they only care about this thing, only cares about this thing.
Yes.
And there's something freeing and clarifying about that.
Yeah. They have, I mean, the world outside doesn't concern them. I still, Ryan, meet people who haven't left their county.
I know.
So, Texas has 254 counties. I'll be in the Panhandle and legitimately talking to someone and they'll be super interesting, and just whatever, slice of life. They're kind. They've got stories. And then I'll start talking about the beach and then they've never gone to the beach.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
And like, or the Capitol, they went as a high school kid to the Capitol and that was it.
Yes.
And they've been up there doing their ranch thing.
Yeah.
Like fascinating.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. I was dragging my wife to Vicksburg. I wanted to see the Civil War battlefield once. And we spent the night in Natchez. And we're in Natchez in this diner. And the waitress goes, where are you guys from? And we were saying, and we're like, oh, we're going to Vicksburg. She's like, oh, I've always wanted to go. And I go, it's 25 minutes from here. What do you mean?
Yeah.
And like, it's a free park. It's not like, hey, I've always wanted to go to Disneyland or I've always wanted to eat at the French Laundry where there's some like you probably drove as far to get to your job here today. You don't live across the street, You drove 20 minutes to get here.
Right.
You didn't, but you've never driven 25 minutes to just see this thing of national global significance,
This is where you start to get sort of like, your superiority complex. Like it's better to have gone and seen these things. Is it really? I mean, I think for me personally, yes, I needed to see these things. I needed to have those experiences. But there's people out there with a totally different mindset that they're just as content, maybe more content than we are.
Well, I think if you're a curious person, you do stuff like that. And then also you're curious about the people who don't do that stuff. Yeah,
that's right.
You're like, tell me why. Yeah. So you've never been on an airplane? And they're like, yeah, this never. And you're like, tell me all about this.
Right.
That's
right.
Crazy.
Gosh. And that it stuck in my head even more when you look back upon the world wars and you were plucking these people who had never left their county out, shipping them to Europe to fight a battle against forces that hadn't really been explained that much to them. It's just good guys versus bad guys, possibly.
Well, I mean, imagine you're some kid in Texas.
Yeah.
You get drafted in World War II. You get sent to fight fascism and bigotry and prejudice. But that's what your hometown does.
Yeah, that's right.
And so just the disruption and the roiling, also you're a black kid from Texas, you get sent to there and you get, you stop in London first and you're allowed to go in bars and restaurants.
Yeah.
So just the kind of passions that get unleashed and what that does is it changes everyone.
Yeah. You can never go home again after that. Right?
Exactly.
That's without a doubt true.
On both sides. Like on the one hand, you got a taste of freedom. On the other, you got exposed to your hypocrisy. And now when you get home, you have to choose to either double down on said hypocrisy or you're deeply unsettled
with it. Yeah. Now you're fighting your own revolutions over here because these ideas are swirling and you can't live with the inconsistencies. That's cool. That's fun.
And I mean, the whole point of segregation was if we keep the people separate, they can't have that discomfort and question how it is. Like it's a flawed premise, but then the system is about buttressing that flawed premise, right?
Sure.
It allows it to perpetuate because you're not actually
we don't want to deal with the turmoil. We'll keep them separate. We'll keep these people isolated. They won't talk, and this will be best for everybody.
Yes,
which never works in the long run, ever.
Right.
That's why banning books and things like that's always a bad idea. Like these ideas are going to come to a head. They're either going to sort of work their way through or they're going to explode into revolution, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the interesting things Herodotus talks about is he hears about this practice in like India where they eat their dead. and he's telling someone about it and they're like disgusted. And so he brings them over and he goes, okay, so what do you guys do? And they're like, well, when our ancestors die, we cut off a little piece of them, we cook it and we eat it. And then we have
we kind of have a piece of them in us.
The Greeks are like, this is disgusting. Your barbarians are horrible. And then he's like, okay, well, what do the Greeks do? And they're like, well, we take our ancestors and we put them on this bed of sticks and we light them on fire and we burn them up. And they're like, how could this is disgusting? How could you possibly do this?
How disgraceful.
And basically it's this idea that like what is barbaric is simply that which is unfamiliar or unusual to us.
100%.
And
100%.
I think that's kind of what you take from travel and from reading and from you go, oh, all this stuff is made up and weird. If it's what I come from, there's a familiarity and a normalcy to it. And it's only when I'm removed from that context or I'm forced to interact with someone who is rationally and calmly and reasonably describing what they do. And by the way, appalled at what I do, that you see the kind of absurdity and relativity of all of it.
That's right. That's absolutely right. What does a fish know about water? Nothing until you take them out and then they're dying. Like, so I agree with you 100%. The great pundit Matt Damon, I don't know if this is his quote or not, but you might have heard this quote. He's like, we could solve a lot of the world's problems if we just all had thicker passports.
Ooh,
you understand the idea?
Yes.
I don't know if he said it. It gets attributed to him all the time. But I don't think you need a thicker passport. It just takes that stepping outside of what your fishbowl and experiencing people in their fishbowl and realizing like, oh my gosh, we have a lot more in common than what we don't. And then also you're doing great over there with totally different cultural practices than me. And I've got a mutual respect for it. So,
well, and what is cool about Texas is that it is so big that you can travel quite a bit and never put a stamp in your passport and experience like different climates, different altitudes, different lifestyles, different, like literally different countries. You go, there's all these different ethnic enclaves. And then also you can travel back in time.
To the days when people didn't leave their county. Like it still happens. I was just in the valley. So Rio Grande Valley, Brownsville, McAllen, all in there. And I was mourning, this nostalgia you look back over travel. I remember the days when I was young, we would go jump the border and we would have an afternoon and a meal in Mexico in these border towns. And it wasn't abnormal. We did it every summer.
Yeah.
And my parents would just give us money and wouldn't watch us. It's like where I learned how to kind of speak hack Spanish and then how to barter. Like, I don't want to pay this onyx knife. I was I'm obsessed with getting an onyx knife. I didn't want to pay $10 for it. Can I get it for $8? Whatever. And I was mourning the fact that we can't go over like that anymore.
Yeah.
But then down in the valley, what's happened is the border has just moved over here because this is where people are spending money.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cultural, political reasons. But that experience that I remember from jumping into Mexico is very much in South Texas right now.
Sure.
And so you can walk around. I mean, I was on streets. I couldn't find anybody to speak English to me. And it was in Texas.
Yeah.
And they're doing great.
Yeah.
It seems like a totally different world. I was like, this, for all intents and purposes, this is a different country.
Right.
And I'm still on the U.S. side. I'm in Texas. And these people are, everybody's doing great.
Well, there's not that many places in the world that you can drive for hundreds of miles and not cross any borders, state or international.
Yeah.
I was telling someone yesterday who was here from Europe, and I was like, there are ranches in Texas bigger than many foreign countries. I think there's a ranch in Texas bigger than Germany. Texas is bigger than many European nations.
Yes.
But there are spots within it owned by people that are certainly bigger than Belgium or, these little, it's insane how big it is.
The King Ranch, I think, is bigger than, multiple states combined.
Yeah.
And it's a single ranch. It's broken into different units, but it's one person's property.
Yes.
It's crazy. We went to New England a couple years ago, and I remember seeing state lines like county markers, I was like, wait, hold up.
You could walk across Rhode Island. It's a full day's walk.
Part of me has always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
I don't, for no reason other than just to say I did it.
Yes. But in Texas, there are not many counties you could walk across.
Gosh, no. No. I mean, so we have to plan our show very intentionally. If we're going out west, it's a 7-hour drive.
Yes.
We get that crap all the time. That's not a day trip. It's but it just depends on where you start.
Right.
For the people in Fort Stockton, it was.
I mean, if you leave Austin, you can have dinner in Big Bend, and then and then if you start the 24 hours when you arrive to there, you can get a lot done. But
absolutely.
But it's not an ideal.
Have you gone out to Big Bend?
Yeah. Bunch of times. Yeah. It's amazing. People should move. Much better to be a place that people want to come than a place that people are fleeing. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm very pro-immigrant, not just globally, but just I hate the don't come here, don't California.
Yeah. The door's closed. Yeah.
But I would say one of my criticisms of many of the people that are moving to Texas is they are locating in Texas, but it is not their locus. So they're not coming here. They're not moving to Austin and then going, and now the Panhandle is my beach and Big Bend's my national park and whatever. They're here and then they're flying everywhere to their same place. They're going on vacation in Hawaii and they're skiing in Colorado and which is all fine, but they're not actually exploring Texas. They're just living in Austin or Dallas or Houston or whatever.
Because of its proximity to an airport. Austin airport, I can get anywhere I want. Well, now you're not really here then.
Yeah. And so the people I know that have moved here, I would say 5% of them have been to Big Bend. And it's one of the you know what I mean? Yeah. It's an amazing place that everyone should go.
I get to talk in front of big crowds all the time, and I'll ask people, how many of y'all have been to Big Bends? And these are typically very Texas-centric groups.
Yes.
Quarter of them.
Yeah.
So Texans aren't that much better.
Yeah. Sure.
Now a lot of people have. I've learned very few people have been to Big Bend once.
Yeah.
It's one of those that gets into your blood and you got to go back.
Well, I mean, it's a glimpse of Texas. It's the first time we went, we stayed in Lajitas and you're it's an hour to the park. from there.
Yeah, totally.
From the closest town, it's an hour drive.
Vast expanses of nothing.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it, though.
Totally,
right?
Of course.
My wife was like, she didn't go kicking and screaming to Big Bend, but she loves, we're from East Texas, so we were high school sweethearts. She loved the trees, and you can't kill St. Augustine grass. It just grow, and like the azaleas and all that. It's like the desert, like there's just no way that's beautiful. And then went out there and it kind of clicked.
We were there, was it last March or the March before, for spring break with my kids, and it snowed. Like, it snowed like 6 inches while we were there. And it was unreal.
That's nuts. Climate change at its best, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like they're getting unusual snow on the regular.
Yeah. Well, and also when you think of Texas, you don't think elevation, you think plains.
True. Yeah.
Scott, I mean, you got to find it, but it's out there.
Have you done the tallest peak in Texas yet?
Which one is
Guadalupe Peak.
Is that there?
It's in our other national parks. So we've got 2 national parks, Big Bend and Guadalupe Mountains National Park. And it has a roughly 9,000 foot high peak. Takes about 8 hours. How old are your kids?
Oldest is 8, youngest is 5.
Okay, yeah, they're not going to make it.
Yeah.
But you and your wife can go out there.
Yeah.
The 8-year-old might. But I mean, it's a grueling hike. Have you done Enchanted Rock yet?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that one's one of my favorites.
Yeah, of course. No, but I think Big Bend is incredible. We've done a fair amount out there. We're just always we're trying to do a couple of those a year, just like. Well,
I love it, Ryan. You got here and you're like, look, I'm going to own it. I'm going to. I don't want to say assimilate. Yeah. You brought your perspective, but like, I want to treat this as home.
Yeah, I think you want to use where you are as a chance to you go, I want to read about this place. I want to watch things about this place. I want to go places, because everything is a lens into the larger time period. Like, so you're talking about Texas German. Like, you're like, okay, so wait, why is this here? And then all of a sudden you're understanding, you're forced to go, well, why did they come here? And then you're like, oh, it's because Germany was Germany's a new country.
Yeah.
And then so it's this way into this different stuff.
That's a thing that didn't even occur to me till recently, how like Poland didn't exist. Germany really didn't. It was all these collective states, like city-states kind of things. And so you had the Alsatians who came over and were in Castroville. So we had this little French Alsatian thing going. And we just visited the oldest Polish settlement in America, which is in Panama Maria. It's outside of San Antonio. Yeah. They've got this incredible heritage museum and church and a sausage factory that makes amazing Polish sausage. But like when they came over here, they were getting run out of a nation that they didn't really even, it wasn't theirs. And so, they were just sort of a people group more than a locale.
Well, and realizing, I think this is a thing America doesn't give itself enough credit for, is like, so America was a collection of colonies, some from Britain, it's this collection of colonies that were all kind of independently created for different religious reasons and economic reasons, right? Sure. And then the big innovation is Benjamin Franklin's like, hey, we're better together than separate, right? This is the joint of God, which, by the way, he steals from the Iroquois Confederacy. There's another thing we steal from the Indians.
Oh, I didn't know
the
that.
idea of a confederation.
Okay,
like the Articles of Confederation is basically Benjamin Franklin cribbing on the sort of system of government from the native people along the eastern seaboard.
Look at that.
But so a collection of city-state colony areas becomes a nation, right? Okay. And that's what we sort of export that back to Europe, right? Italy is unified. South America, comes together. Sure. We export this all over. And so, like as those countries came together, some of the people were like, well, this doesn't work for me, or they weren't a part of whatever that And they ended up here.
See, we got to go to Italy this past fall, and I was like, wait, Italy's how old? I don't know why. I'm sure I learned it. I just forgot it.
Yeah, this stuff is like around the time the Civil War is happening. But the country is 1,000 years old, but the modern conception of it and its borders is not that old. And then, by the way, World War I and World War II is really just people arguing about those things. Today, Russia is like, no, Ukraine is part of us. Historically, and then however it shakes out determines whether that's true or not.
My gosh, is Israel, right? The conflict there. Yes. It's all about, who owns this land.
And because people can't get along with each other, and we're not good at understanding that pluralism is the alternative to this stuff is not everyone's on the same page. It's that we chill out and make space for everyone. And when we fail to do that, those people have to go somewhere else. And they usually, for most of, the last 200 years, they ended up here. Like they ended up in America.
That's right.
And because there was always space.
That's right.
You know?
It's cool.
Yeah. There's a Christopher Columbus statue in New York City, not because America was like, we love Christopher Columbus. It's because Italians in New York City were tired of being the low race on the totem pole and were picking a hero to celebrate.
Okay, that everybody can kind of get behind.
He's our guy.
Okay.
They're like, he's our guy.
Interesting. There's a giant one in Corpus Christi too. I'm like, what? Columbus was never here, but it was them saying we're proud immigrants from Spain, like our Spanish heritage.
Well, and then the toxic version of that is, of course, like the Confederate statues, which go up in the 1910s and 20s and 30s and 40s because they're faced with a sort of a more equal America, and they're like, no, this is our Robert E. Lee's never even been here, but he's my guy.
He's my guy. Yes,
and he's my way because we control this little town of saying, when you walk into this courthouse, I'm going to remind you who the fuck's the boss. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's right.
This is not your courthouse.
It was a flex, the lost cause.
Yeah.
I mean, having grown up in Texas, that was the line through our history books was states' rights, you know, and then as time has sort of illuminated how messy our history actually is.
Yeah.
And me traveling Texas has illuminated how messy our history is here too, between the settlers and the native Indians and just the racism that existed post-revolution against the Hispanics, because now the Anglos want it. And it's all mess and no one's hands are clean.
Yes.
But the more you travel and you see, it's like, oh my gosh, this history was never black, white. It was always a mess, and it still is.
Well, I think one of the things you get when you look at history too is it's easy to despair. Be like, oh, they were all so awful. They all believe this.
Completely.
And then, but if you really look, you find little reminders, right? Like there's that monument of those German settlers who were trying to make their way north to join the Union from Texas.
Yes, yeah.
And they get basically murdered, which is obviously a tragic
massacred,
thing. Another way to see that monument or that historical event, which we don't talk about a lot, is like, hey, everyone wasn't on the same page. We didn't like there were a bunch of people who lived in Texas who were like, I don't want to do that. Like, I think there were a lot of people like
totally. The Germans were notorious. I mean, there's Union Valley and Loyal Valley. There are all these little German communities that have names like that because they got sort of ostracized and the only counties that voted in favor of staying with the Union were really the German ones.
Bastrop voted against secession.
Okay.
It was one of the few counties that did.
Yeah.
And so it's just like now we get like our elections are like 49-51 or whatever. And then we go, well, everyone thinks this. And it's like, actually, like, we're not far apart. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it could have easily gone the other way.
Totally.
And I think that's one of the things I try to take from history is like, it could have been otherwise. And also, not everyone agreed with whatever the countervailing negative thing was. Like some people were like, I don't know about this, right? You know, and they were at the mercy of people who had slightly more voting power than them.
That's exactly right. To the victors goes the spoils, and the victors write history, and everything else just gets forgotten or brushed aside. When there were reasonable people all over, and like we were fighting, and this could have easily gone the other way.
Yes,
easily. There's a fascinating story about there's one of the few Civil War battle sites in Texas is down in Southeast Texas when a group of Irishmen kept back a force that was trying to invade Texas. Like the Union never got into Texas because they were able to seal the Sabine off. And that could have we would have tons of Civil War sites in Texas that we don't have because of this. And it could have ended the war a lot faster because then the whole thing would have gone. It's like, there's so many little turning points in history. Like this would have rewritten the whole thing. Yeah. And you got to travel to see them.
Well, yeah. And then you go, oh, hey, everyone's talking about Juneteenth. Well, Texas is why we have Juneteenth.
Yeah, right. I went to that spot in Galveston recently.
Well, I mean, I was just driving when we drove to Lockhart. I passed, there was like a Juneteenth grounds. And you're like, oh, because all these little cities had these little parades and moments celebrating this thing because it was basically a foreign country. Like they just didn't get the news. Like it took a while to come over.
That's right. Texas, yeah. We haven't featured that marker down in Galveston yet.
Yeah,
but we're going to. Yeah. We've been able to we approach those things as best we can, as reasonable as we can. Knowing that we're going to piss people off on both sides, whatever. The episode, I know you're pretty caught up because you've seen Plano, but we have a Jasper episode that's coming.
Yeah, I saw you mention that. But
that's one that people still shudder about Jasper. I mean, when I say that word, what's your reaction?
Well, I was like, why do I? Because I didn't live here when that happened. I was like, why do I have a negative feeling about that, right? And then I was like, wait, is that Jasper, Wyoming that I had a negative opinion about? And then I looked at the Wikipedia page. I was like, oh yeah.
Do you remember it? Yeah. So we had debated that a while.
One of the most, for people who don't know, one of the most notorious hate crimes in American history happened.
Horrible dragging death of James Byrd Jr. And it made national news, and Jasper was just vilified as the city that killed him. And so, for Texans, that town has been blacklisted. I guess I should pick a better word, but it's been written off. Don't go there. It's unsafe. Yeah. Or if if you're African American, you go there, you're unsafe. Or if you're white, you go there, you're supporting a racist town. Which is, it's not true. Sure. And so we're like, okay, we're going to go into that. We're going to talk. We're gonna have to address it head on. Yeah. And we're gonna talk about how what you think you know about this town is not true, and it's an incredible town. Very, the people there are doing great for the most part. But you got to get into that town to see it. And so we debated a long time. Are we getting outside of our lane talking about these things? People want
to, is this upsetting to someone who just wants to know where to get a big burger somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. And we've had to stop at Confederate battlegrounds, all kinds of things. I mean, the history's just not clean.
Right.
And so you're either going to brush it under the rug and not talk about it, or you're going to try to get in and add some sort of clarity to an otherwise completely murky situation.
I think that's important. Like if history is clean or fun to you, you're not reading history.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's propaganda, right? Like if you're not uncomfortable, if you're not getting a glimpse into the darkness that human beings are capable of, that's not history. That's like a book you get your dad from Costco for his birthday. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right.
There's that sort of pleasing fun. Everyone's getting along, or it was bad, but we worked on it, and actually it's pretty gnarly. Yes.
I do though. One of our big things, I want to be the joyful alternative to all the other junk that's out there on the news. And so, I do take that seriously. I want families to be able to sit down, watch the show, have a great time, enjoy, laugh. So I do want to be light. Yeah, I want to spread light. I want to be light to people. And so you're like, well, man, there's just some hard stories that you got to deal with.
Yes.
So either we ignore them, which is just I don't think is the right answer, or we hopefully shine light into dark places for people who didn't want to think about it, and sort of give them a way to understand it, think about it, talk about it with their kids. Yeah. In a way that's productive and understanding. When they're out traveling like you are, because you're going to travel. I mean, maybe you go to Jasper, maybe you won't, but you'll travel somewhere and you'll see some things that are probably kind of hard to talk about as parents. So what do? You just brush them under the rug, or do you kind of help your kids understand
that's the job, right? Your job is to talk to them about those things.
That's the gig.
Like what am I supposed to tell my kids? You're supposed to tell them what happened. You didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you didn't do it. You are not guilty, but we're all responsible.
Oh, that's good.
There's some distinction there between although what I would say is you become guilty if you are complicit in the cover up of said thing, right?
Okay,
if you decide not to talk about it, or you go, oh, it was just unpleasant, or, if you try to both sides it or whatever, then what you're doing is you're not just robbing your kids of, I think, the just basic resilience of being able to be uncomfortable and look at things and learn, but you're also setting them up you're depriving them of the opportunity to write a better future because you are not telling,
Yeah. I mean, do you believe like history will repeat itself? Like
certainly.
Yeah. I mean, right. You've studied history enough, right?
Yeah.
So how do you break the cycle?
Yes.
I mean, you have to keep educating the kids and help them to kind of seek a better future.
Yeah. And also like, I know my kids and I know their character and I believe it. I don't think when they hear about what happens in Jasper, they're like, they're relating to the guys in the car.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're seeing themselves in the victim, they're seeing themselves in the humanity of the. They're not saying, "Oh, I'm a monster."
Sure.
My dad made me feel bad. I think like when I tell them about history, I want them to relate to the underdogs or the idea that you should only tell them the history where they see a hero and are the hero is I think setting themselves up for a world that's not real. I want them to see themselves in the people that persevered and fought, the people who had dignity, what I mean? Like, and then sometimes like it doesn't always work out for people, right?
Sure.
Like,
sure.
But showing them bad people shouldn't make them feel bad. Because they're not bad people.
Totally agree. But also showing them that like, all of our heroes are flawed.
Yes, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
And the fact that they struggle with things doesn't disqualify them from doing great things.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
We've got to deal with both the successes and failures of all of our heroes,
sure.
and none of them are clean. And so making sure that we aren't over romanticizing whatever, our founding fathers or Sam Houston or Davy Crockett or whatever, so that they understand hey, man, we're all flawed. Like we've all got sin in our lives, that things we're trying to deal with, that we're trying to work out. And so that's part of the human process.
Yeah. And is that flaw or that belief or whatever, is that their main thing? Or was that, so like if you're Jefferson Davis, that's pretty much your main thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, I can be like, that's probably not someone we need to talk that much about. Right. And probably not someone we need to name a bunch of things after. But if you're George Washington, where you do a bunch of good stuff and you have this tragic flaw, or this secret or this shame, then you go, okay, how much greater could this person have been if they'd had the courage to face this about themselves?
Yes.
And how much does their failure to do that undermine the other stuff? And just like a tragic hero in a play, if they're perfect, they're not that relatable. If they are entirely evil, then they're only a villain.
Sure.
It's in that complicatedness that I think we see like what's fundamentally us.
We took our kids to Mount Vernon this summer.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Because, we're always taught, here's George Washington on the white horse crossing the Delaware or whatever. And then, his fortune was made on the backs of enslaved people.
Yeah.
And here's where they lived too. And so the Mount Vernon's done an amazing job.
Mm-hmm.
But, making sure that hey, our kids see the messier sides of all of it.
Well, and then when you see that, then it makes the decision to say free them at the end of his life. You understand economically what that meant. You understand from you go, oh, he would have really wrestled with this.
Yeah.
It's not a right, wrong, easy. Right and wrong. If doing the right thing was easy, everyone would do it all the time.
All the time. Yeah, sure.
It's that it's that it cost him a lot. He shouldn't have ever, the whole thing is morally bankrupt. I get that. But the point is, the reason Thomas Jefferson doesn't do it, even though he actually writes more beautifully about the wrongness of slavery, is because he also really liked expensive French stuff. And he was horribly in debt.
Yeah.
And he couldn't afford, Washington's sort of discipline and frugality puts him in a position to go, hey, I'm going to do this. He couldn't do it earlier because then he wouldn't have had the estate. It makes it real. It's okay, he knew what he needed to do, but he couldn't without bearing too much of the weight. And then, but he did get himself to a place where he could do it later than he should have, but he could do it. And this is a spectrum, right? There's this sort of spectrum. Jefferson, very aware, but likes living in Monticello.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right.
And that we're all on some version of that thing. Like we know, hey, I should probably wear a shirt made in America, but like when I'm at the store and they only have ones made in Guatemala, and they're cheap, it's like,
yeah.
That's what that is.
You're forced to compromise.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, if only we could live clean and as idealistic as we wanted, right?
Totally.
Like, I guess that is the struggle. And, you know, and it's the same. It's the same. What do we prioritize more than other things? It's just a battle of priorities. That's what all life is.
What's interesting to me about your stuff, though, is like you wouldn't think you could have like, I mean, yes, Texas is big and a lot of people live here, but it is impressive. I think you've built this whole kind of travel media company about one place. You know, one state. Like there's something I think about the tools of social media and YouTube that make that possible. That's exciting.
Completely.
Like it's also absurd that I can do it about an obscure school of ancient philosophy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're both. We schemed the system somehow, right?
It shouldn't work. You know, like if you were describing it to an investor, they'd be like, I think that's too small.
Yeah, people are going to be, you know, we've sort of talked about this a little bit, but in my travels overseas, I gained this perspective that everyone else in the rest of the world wants to come to Texas at some point in their life. Yeah. We're like, they're Australia, you know, or like, you know, and like, I'm like, whoa, wow. Yeah. Like, well, what the heck are we doing leaving? Yeah. And so I was like, we could build something here. I started off saying it's Texas for Texans, and then started noticing everybody else is kind of tuning in. Sure. And now with YouTube, some of our biggest fans are over in Germany. Yeah. It's awesome. They'll come over to our little store in Georgetown and like, I bought the boots and the hats, Chet, look. You're like, oh, that's awesome, dude.
I didn't know you had a store.
We do, like a little. I mean, it's a shoebox. It's mostly our production studio.
Yeah, I mean that's what.
But but we wanted to contribute to the downtown square. Didn't want to just fill a space with office space like the bookstore. I got exactly mad respect for what you did. Like we're going to contribute. Yeah. We also need a place to do our stuff, but like we're going to contribute. So we have a little shoebox of a store, which you know gives people a way to interact with us that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Oh, hey, Clarky.
Hey.
You want to sit? Here, I can stand if you want to sit. I think Clarky has some questions.
What's up, dude?
You want to sit? Are you shy?
Have you ever seen
you can shake his hand?
A Daytripper show?
Yes.
What? So are you kidding me?
Here, you can sit, buddy. I'll get another chair.
I can't believe that. So, your name's Clark.
Yes.
Dude, that's awesome. How old are you?
I'm 8.
8. So much wisdom, I bet, packed into your brain, man. Your dad imparted anything to you, or is it kind of like, Dad, quit talking about dead guys?
Yeah.
That's awesome. You have a favorite show?
Yes.
What's your favorite episode?
Of the Daytripper?
Yeah.
Possibly Kyle.
Kyle. What was so cool about that one?
The Rage Room. I've been to the Rage Room.
Did you know that like people would give you baseball bats, you smash stuff? What did you get to smash?
I got the hammer and I just bashed a bunch of glass.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Like, there's something like this powerful about it.
There's like a fishbowl kind of base.
That's good. Now, as an 8-year-old boy, did you feel like you had a lot of like rage inside of you that needed to come out?
No, I just wanted to break stuff.
You just wanted to break stuff. Yeah.
I think it was exciting to know there was a place you could go break stuff. Like that's not I mean, that got invented relatively like in our lifetimes. The first time I heard about it, I was like, that seems fun. You know, like I didn't know.
I remember being a kid and going out, like we would just have to go play in the dumpsters. Yeah. You find a bunch of glass in the dumpsters, like, let's break it. And that wasn't very safe because, you know, the pieces would fly at you and stuff. Now it's pretty cool. Like you had a place to go do it.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah. Well, it's your favorite episode.
Ooh, man. I think some of my favorites are like the Big Bend ones. Have you ever been out there to West Texas? Yeah.
With Big Ben.
Do you like all the goofy stuff?
Yeah. How bad your acting is.
Oh, he's a critic. Hey, it's okay. It's true. I didn't get into this job because I was a good actor. I just kind of weaseled my way in. Nobody.
I think that's how we heard about the goat mayors, remember?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought we knew that before we even knew that his channel existed.
I don't know. Those are fun.
Yeah. That's funny. Funny. Do you watch on YouTube?
Yeah.
Sometimes. Yeah. It's like people your age call it channels. You know, it's like I'm not on a channel. I have a channel. It's
We
a
have
totally different
iPads
mindset.
and then the big TV.
The big, oh, okay.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. That's cool. So, I mean, Big Bend is one of my favorites. I like the ones where I get to go swimming. That's my favorite thing to do. Texas summer's way too hot, man.
Figuring out how they made like the pool look Olympic.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that funny?
Yeah.
They just put them on a rope and pulled them back. And so they looked like they were swimming forever.
Yeah.
Remember we went to that pool with the rope swing? You liked that one. Where was that? Lamba? What's the one in Sam?
Oh, Landau. No. Landa Park.
Landa.
Yeah, Landa Park. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We did Balmore. He liked that.
Oh, that's the best. So cold, though.
It's near my school.
Yeah, that's cool.
Do you got any other questions?
Yeah. What's your least favorite?
Favorite episode? I can't tell you that. Bastrop, man. That was a snoozer. I got a bad shave in Bastrop. Nothing cool was in Bastrop. They didn't have any good bookstores.
Bastrop.
Oh, no. Yeah. I'm kidding. You know what? I don't have any least favorite episodes because Clark, they're all attached to memories that I have of like being out there with my family or my crew. And so like they all kind of have like little pieces of my brain, you know? This is cool. Guess what I get to do tomorrow?
What?
I'm going to go to a dig park where adults and kids get to drive full bulldozers and excavators around and dig stuff up. Like full size ones.
Where's that?
Katie.
Ooh, that's fun. We should do that.
Yeah, it's called a Dig World. Yeah. I can't wait.
like
I've never driven an
Sounds
excavator.
like something that would be near Kyle.
It does. It does. Yeah. So like, I mean, I try to make the best out of every place. So I don't really have a least favorite.
Yeah. I think that the Texas pool was kind of just weird because there was that one island in the middle.
I know. And they said it was supposed to be Dallas, but it wasn't in the right spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should have been like.
Yeah, you watched some new ones. Trick question, movie magic. Do you think I actually held my breath that whole time?
No.
No, I thought I made it look good. I didn't hold my breath that whole time. I was the only person in there and it was freezing cold. And so I was almost, but.
You left on part.
I did. Yeah. We do a lot of really silly stuff on the show.
Especially how bad your acting is.
We're coming back to that.
Do you want to go show them the bookstore?
Yeah.
Or do you have any more questions?
No.
Oh, what's up?
You want my chair?
Uh-oh. Now I'm really in the hot seat. I got both of them.
Can sit in
The Bobs asking me questions. I want to keep my job. Evidently, my acting's not so good. No. Hey, buddy.
have a question?
What's your name?
Jones.
John?
Jones.
Jones. Oh,
Jones.
Jones is a great name, man. That is a great name. So, sir, have you ever seen the Daytripper?
Yeah.
Yeah?
He doesn't like
Okay, how is my acting?
Kinda.
Like,
Good.
yeah, thank you.
What?
Thank you. It's some of my best stuff. When I put on a mustache, you don't even know it's me anymore. I just disappear completely, right?
No.
No? What? I thought that was really good. What about a wig? I mean, like I transform into the character.
The girl wanted Tombo. This is terrible.
Clark and Jones, next time I need to put someone in a wig and a dress, and I'll bring y'all out there. Y'all can be actors. Maybe y'all do a better job.
Jonesy, do you want to go give him a tour of the bookstore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or do you have a question?
No.
Jonesy, question. Would you rather eat a barbecue or a cheeseburger?
A barbecue.
Oh, okay. Would you
Burger,
rather?
but I could just pull out the cheese.
Oh, you don't like cheese?
No.
Clark's dream is to do an eating challenge.
It's the ice cream one.
Yeah, but he's pumped about the idea of an eating challenge. Which he also didn't know something.
It's a giant ice cream bowl with a bunch of flavors and just a donut and a chocolate bar, and I think some fudge.
Whoa, that sounds legit. Hey, listen, I just had this. This is the first time I ever saw it. They took an ice cream. Oh, they cut a donut in half. They took an ice cream. They put the donut around it, and then they put it in a waffle iron, and it sealed the donut up around the ice cream ball. It was amazing, Jones. Amazing. All right, let's go see that bookstore.
Yeah, I'll show you.